to Yahudah Living author interview segment. My name is Marsha Beasley, and I have the amazing pleasure of introducing to you one of my dear friends about the gift she has been given and to take words and bring those words to life. And not only that, but our guest today supports others to do the same thing through her publishing company, Pen of the Writer, in which you can find her at penofthewriter.com. And we'll talk more about it in just a few moments. She is a best-selling author herself, an award-winning publisher with over 15 years of experience. And let me tell you, she knows her business and she knows what she's talking about. And I am super excited. And it is my pleasure to introduce you to Valerie J. Lewis Coleman. Valerie, how are you doing today, sis?
Marcia, I am well, and I am better after that fantastic, energetic, dynamic introduction. Thank you so much for having me on your show today.
Absolutely. It is my pleasure to have you here. Now, before we get started, as I was reading your bio, Valerie, you were a former educator, and at some point you left education and became an author and a publisher. Why the shift?
Well, I started out as an engineer.
Okay.
And after 26 years, my specific plant in the automotive industry, my plant closed. Seeing the handwriting on the wall about 10 years before the plant closed, I started doing adjunct teaching at several colleges.
Okay.
Math. I'm a math nerd, so engineer, math, it all just rolls in together. And
Okay.
so I did that, and I taught various classes. Even once the plant closed, I taught at 4 different colleges up
Okay.
until 2018, I think, 2018 or 19. And I
Mhm.
just recently officially retired.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Sounds great. So you did both. You did the pen of the writer and educator and all of that at the same time.
Mhm. Yes, yes. Multitasking.
Okay, and you did it well too. Okay,
Thank you.
because we had the opportunity. I think when we were kind of calculating, it has been about 10 or 12 years when we
Yeah.
first connected with some of your books that we interviewed, on a different platform, and so it
Mhm.
has been years. Yeah,
Yes. Yeah.
yes.
We're approaching, my estimate based on when the my novel came out, which was in 2010, we're maybe about the 15 year, 13, 14, 15, somewhere in there. I can't believe it's been that long.
No, I know.
That's
Wow.
crazy.
Yeah, it's just absolutely amazing. So I am super excited. Now, before I'm going to have you share more about yourself. But before we do that,
Mhm.
I've already talked about
Mhm.
penofthewriter.com. That is your website. That's
Mhm.
where we find everything about you. But where did Pen of the Writer come from?
When I started this publishing company, it was important for me to name it something that resonated with writers, but also
Okay.
resonated with who I am in Christ. And
Okay.
so, Pen of the Writer is based off of the scripture, Judges 5:14,
Okay.
that talks about the different tribes of the children of Israel who were going to war against the Philistines, the giants. The
Mm,
last tribe, the tribe of Zebulun, fought in that translation, in the English translation, they fought with the pen of the writer. So now we know they're not fighting 9 foot giants with ink
right.
pens, which wouldn't even exist in existence at that time. So when I did my research, went back to the original Hebrew, I found that the pen of the writer in the original Hebrew language was sticks and staff. So they were doing hand-to-hand combat with the enemy using sticks and staffs to defend what God had promised to them. And so that's what I do as pen of the writer. I'm doing hand-to-hand combat, whether it's ink pen or pencil, or as some of my clients composed by typing, we're still doing hand-to-hand combat with the enemy, because all my books, my clients' books, are clean, inspirational books that help people live better, be better, think better, do better.
That's amazing. Wow. Thank you so much for sharing where the birthing of your the name come from. So
Mm-hmm.
thank you so much. Now,
Mm-hmm.
take a moment, Valerie, and take us back, take me back to young Valerie, where this passion of writing was born from.
So now I don't remember this conversation, but if my mother said it, then it is so.
Okay.
When we were children, we did a family time capsule. I might have been seventh grade, some, middle school age.
Uh-huh.
And mom said that in this time capsule, I put in there that I wanted to write a book. I don't remember saying that, but mama said it, so it is so. And at one point, I remember in sixth grade, our English teacher read books to us. And one of the first books that I recall having been read to was The Outsider by, I think it's
Mhm.
S.E. Hinton. And
Okay.
I just love the story. I love the visuals. I fell in love with the message. Like, oh my gosh, this is great. And these guys are grouping together and they're trying to overcome. And I really fell in love. Then I went home and tried to write my own version of
Mm.
a novel. And what I realized about halfway through is I didn't know what it was at the time, but I had shifted my tense from first person to third person or vice versa. I don't know which way I did it. But when I realized it, I was like, oh, that's not right. I didn't know what I had done, but I knew it wasn't right. So I stopped and didn't pick it back up as far as actually writing
Uh-huh.
until, now this is where the real nerdy me comes out. I was in college as a co-op student, and there was a high school student who was also a co-op student at the plant I worked, and he was struggling with calculus. Well, I'm a math nerd. What do you mean you're struggling with calculus? I wrote a calculus book for him,
Wow.
and handwritten, and showed him all the different formulas and hypotheses and all these other things. And he took it and he studied it, and I tutored him, and he passed math. Otherwise, he wasn't going to graduate. He was at the end of his term as a student. He couldn't pass the math. So I have to pass math. That was a book. And
Wow.
then for my undergraduate degree in engineering, we had to write a thesis. So that was another book. That was the only one that I would say was officially published. But it only went to like me, my professor, my advisor, and then one at the college library. So
Okay.
I've had books kind of like dropping on me throughout. However, my very first published book that is now on 6 of 7 continents was a book about step family life, blended families, and anthology. So when I married my husband, he had 3 kids, I had 2, and we found out real quick, not the Brady Bunch. Oh,
Was
so I will say that we are now celebrating 30 years. We just celebrated last week, yeah. However, at year 12, I didn't know that we were going to make it.
wow.
Yeah. So it finally got to the point where it was either write the book or go to jail. And I chose to write a book. It was therapeutic.
Okay.
And because I didn't have all the answers with the step family dynamic, we had a very chaotic dynamic. I
Mm.
pulled in other people to get their insight on what they did and how they felt and what they experienced and how they navigated these challenges. And as a result, I got a better understanding of step family life.
Right.
And I helped, like I said, thousands of families that has helped them better navigate what's going on in this now more commonplace dynamic of rearing or raising or being involved with a child or a person who is not your biological family member. However, you are still maybe living in the same home or having to have these different rules, or mama said this and daddy said that, and what do I do? And so trying to bring some calm to all that
Yeah.
chaotic dynamic. So that was my first book, bestseller, Amazon #1. It's been on multiple bestsellers lists, and that kind of got me going
Okay.
on the publishing journey because I published it myself. And
Okay.
then when I started getting out there on the circuit, I met so many authors who were making mistakes and
Mm.
catastrophic, costly
Okay.
mistakes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because the engineer in me was kicking in, like, wait a minute,
Okay.
you spent too
Okay.
much for that. That's not right.
Yeah.
So then I got into transitioning and helping other authors.
Wow, that's amazing. And I remember the Blended Families book because we actually interviewed that
Mm-hmm.
as well as the Forbidden
Forbidden secrets
Secrets
of the goodie box.
of the Goodie Box, and then the relationship book with I can't think of the gentleman's name
Uh-huh.
that we did the relationship one as
Uh,
well. So yeah, and that's good because there are so many blended families out here. And so listen, audience, go to penofthewriter.com and pick up that book if you are sitting in a blended family. Even if you think you've overcome, go pick up that book anyway,
mhm.
because you'll learn so much and you're hearing stories of people who were in blended families or who are in blended families. So super, super cool. I appreciate that. Thank you so much. Now, Valerie, you've said a lot about where the birthing and how the engineer in you kicked in and started to see some of the mistakes
Mhm.
that people make. Before we dive into that, would you say that there is a book stored up in all of us? And if so, what would you say are are some of the reasons those books never get published?
So I would say that statistically, I've read statistics that say
Okay.
81% of the people, now I don't know if that's American people or,
Okay.
81% of people want to write and publish a book. 81%, which is a
80.
very high percentage.
That's a
Yeah.
lot. Yes.
That's a lot of people. Well,
Yes.
when I'm out and about, I meet a lot of people. I want to write a book. I'm trying to write a book. Why can't I? But to answer your question as to why, I have actually done a workshop on this and included
Okay.
it in one of my books. I think there are three reasons why people don't actually finish the book when they actually want to. Some people don't want to, of course.
Okay.
The first one being fear.
Okay.
I'm afraid that I'm going to embarrass my family. I'm afraid that no one's going to like it. I'm afraid that I can't afford it. I'm
Hmm.
afraid that it's not going to be good enough. In other words, I'm afraid I'm not good enough. So there's a lot of different fears that keep people from moving forward. Then the other one is focus, and it's actually the lack of focus.
Okay.
But some people have so many ideas, they're bombarded with ideas, they don't know how to organize them or which
Okay.
one do I choose? Where should I start? Or they
Okay.
have so much clutter and chaos in their world
Uh-huh.
that it's hard to get focused to be able to write. For me, I need some level of calm and quiet to write.
Okay.
And as most people do, I won't say all people,
Yeah.
but most people need to have some level of peace and calm in their mind to be able to write.
Hmm.
And I tell my clients, if you've got a lot of clutter in your area, the clutter
Mm.
in your space is often clutter of the external space, is clutter of your internal space.
Yes.
So there's some things you're going to need to do to release some things so that you can move forward. So
Wow.
fear, focus, and then the last one is, I call it for the F alliteration, forgiveness, but it's actually unforgiveness. So
Unforgiveness.
fear, focus, and forgiveness. But what is keeping the people from writing is the unforgiveness. Holding
Mm.
on to things that someone said or did, not releasing themselves or feeling like they have to hold God hostage for whatever happened in their lives. And
Wow.
that holding on to that thing, like I tell my clients, you're holding on so tight to whatever that thing is
Yeah.
that nothing can get in or nothing can get out.
Mm.
So you can't write because you're angry, you're bitter, you're mad, you're hurt, you're disappointed, you're frustrated, you're embarrassed. Whatever it is you're feeling, when you learn to release those things and release them to God and forgive yourself, like I tell my clients, sometimes it's about forgiving other people, sometimes it's about forgiving yourself, because
Yeah.
we know that all things work together for the good of those who called according to his purpose. And so sometimes we want to attach things to God that he had absolutely nothing to do with. This was not me. It was either all you or all, whatever else. I had nothing to do with that. Don't blame
Uh-huh.
this on me.
Uh-huh.
But we tend to do that. And so it's the fear, focus, and forgiveness, or like I said, unforgiveness, that keeps
Yeah.
most people from being able to move forward to do whatever they need to do when it comes to writing, releasing, because writing is a release. And if
Yeah.
you're holding on to stuff you can't release, writing
Yeah.
requires creativity. Creativity is right brain dominant. If you
Hmm.
are stuck in your left brain, analyzing, thinking, criticizing, trying to figure stuff out, it's hard to be creative, which is right
Right.
brain. The Bible tells us in James 1:8, a double-minded man is unstable in all his ways.
Hmm.
So you can't be creative and be analytical at the same time. It's physiologically impossible.
Uh-huh.
So it's important to make sure we know these things and free our minds so that we can then be able to move forward with whatever God wants you to do.
Yes. So freeing our minds from fear,
Mm-hmm.
uh, focus,
Mm-hmm.
and forgiveness,
Right.
or unforgiveness.
Unforgiveness and actually lack of focus.
Lack
But for the
of
F alliteration,
focus,
it makes it easier to remember: fear, focus, forgiveness.
fear, focus.
Absolutely.
Yes. Wow. Wow.
Mm-hmm.
That's good. And so if somebody's listening right now and we have the opportunity, you have the opportunity to turn that book faucet on,
Mm-hmm.
what's the one thing you would say to a client to turn that faucet on and just let it flow?
Well, Marsha, I've had people who, they're ready to tell their story. They
Okay.
don't know how to tell it.
Okay.
So I'll start asking questions. So it may be good to have someone ask you questions and then you record it if it's about getting it out.
Okay.
I've had people say, well, I'm trying to write and then I start crying and I can't finish writing. And I tell my clients, write through the tears.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because what happens is that pain you're feeling, those emotions, that can be captured, even though you may not feel like it. You're almost transferring that emotion into the story. And so now when people read it, they can feel the pain that you felt because you expressed it, you poured it out on the pages. So if you can write through the pain, write through the pain. Now, some of that stuff may just be therapeutic for you. It may not end up in the final book, but keep writing.
Right.
And then the other thing I tell my clients is to be transparent, be vulnerable, be open. And if you haven't completely healed from whatever that thing is, it may be hard to be vulnerable or be open. I don't want to share this part. I haven't told anybody this yet. Well, your readers aren't going to get the breakthrough that they can get or need because you're not being totally vulnerable or you haven't received your full transformation.
Exactly.
So we have to work. Sometimes when I'm working with clients, a lot of it is really like ministry and really having to pull things out of them. I had one young lady, I want to write this book and I want to do this. And I said, okay, but tell me about your book. Well, it's a secret. Well, honey, if you can't tell me and I'm trying to help you write it, how are you going to get the message out to the people?
She's so
you can't be secretive.
No.
Yeah. I mean, unless you, then I have people who are afraid, like that's the fear coming in. I don't want somebody to steal my idea or I don't want somebody to judge me.
Wow. Wow.
But if you're going to write a book, whether it's fiction or nonfiction, you're going to be judged.
Yeah.
On the cover, on the content, on the quality, on the title, on your name. People are judgmental. That's going to happen. You can't control that. So let that go. What you can't control, let it go. Exactly. And then as far as fear, Tim Ferriss does something called fear setting. Fear instead of goal setting, he actually has this, I think it's a 5 or 7 step process you go through to evaluate things that you're afraid of.
Okay.
And the reason for doing that is, it's like, in the church sometimes they'll say, well, name that storm. It's no longer this, call it that. So we're renaming, we're reframing our minds to think differently. And when you do the Tim Ferriss fear setting, and Ferriss is Ferris, I think he has 2. What it does is it help you to identify the fear. Okay. Try to figure out the root of the fear. What happens if the fear actually happens? What can you do to prevent it from happening? Okay. If it does happen, what will be your actions? And then what happens if you don't take action? Yeah. So what is the cost of inactivity? You're so afraid of doing nothing. What's the cost of that? So by the time you step through that, you're like, you know what, this isn't that bad. I really need to. And then I read a study that said 85% of what people fear to happen never happen. Wow. That's just the enemy tormenting us. That's what he does. That's one of his devices. Yes. That's a fiery dart. And it may not come as, a sickness or money or other. It may come just to him filling your head with negativity. That's one of his devices. Wow. And so they said 85% of what people fear never happen. And of the 15% that does happen, people said either they learned something out of the process, so it had value to them, or it wasn't as bad as they expected. Yes. And so when you add those numbers in, it came to be something like 93% of the things that we fear have very little effect on who we are and what we can do. And 7%, some stuff is going to happen. But 93%, you're going to sit and not do whatever you were supposed to do. But 7%, it's not even worth it. Wow. We're going to move forward and we're going to step out. Like, they say, fear and faith can't occupy the same space. It's one or the other. Either you trust God or you don't. There's no in between. Either you're on the fence or you're not. You're hot or you're cold. Lukewarm is unacceptable. Right. So we have to be committed to who we are and what we're going to do. And if he called you to do it, trust that he's going to take you through it. Exactly. He called the children of Israel out of Egypt and took them. Now, it took them a while. That wasn't his fault. See, they wanted to blame God. That wasn't his fault. That was them. But it took them a while to get through the wilderness, but they still got through. Not the original. Yes. I think it says 600 million, but the other folks who got through or who were supposed to get through. But we have to commit to trusting God. That's true. And being committed to his word and understanding his promises and finding value in who he's created me to be, understanding my gift and operating in my gift. If you don't know your gift, ask him. Ask. Yes. Ask him to reveal it. Oftentimes our gift is so natural to us, we don't see it as a gift.
Right,
So it's
right.
good to ask other people too. What do you think I'm good at? Look, in social media, you can ask people, and you get all kinds of stuff on
I
social
know,
media,
right?
right? But ask those people closer to you. If you could describe me in 3 words, how would you describe me?
Mm,
And your gift could be laying in those adjectives that you would never have attached to yourself.
exactly. Wow. Wow.
So
That's
all of those
good.
are things that I share with my clients, kind of get the momentum going.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And I'm sure that that momentum for someone that's going to be listening, it's going to resonate with them. So
Absolutely.
great. Awesome. Now, there are so many ways people can publish a book, and you kind of talked about you did your first book and put it on Amazon. They can self-publish, they can go through a publishing company,
Mhm.
Amazon, and so many other ways. Does it matter? Does it make a difference? And are there any pitfalls? Some of these methods, utilizing some of these methods, rather coming to someone like yourself.
Mhm, mhm. So there are four main categories of publishing. Traditional
Okay.
publishing, which is when you get the deal, they buy your book rights,
Okay.
or right to publish. They pay you. They may give you a budget for marketing. That's the
Okay.
pie in the sky. That's like Oprah's couch type situation.
Okay.
Traditional publishing. The downfall with traditional publishing is it's hard to land a deal.
Mm,
You have to have an agent.
okay.
And even when you get your cut, they typically do multi-book deals. They don't do a single book. So when you
Mm,
go to them, you have to have your agent, which means you've already won over your agent. You don't pay
okay.
an agent, your agent gets paid when you get paid.
Mm,
So that's like a first filter. And if the agent that you look for doesn't have a good reputation in the industry or doesn't feel your book is going to land a deal, they won't work with you because they don't
okay.
get paid until you get paid. So you got to get past the agent first.
Okay.
Um, and then, like I said, there's usually a multi-book contract. And if you don't go to them with if the first book doesn't do well, when I mean well, if they say it's 100,000, they pay you $100,000 for 3 books. Ooh, that sounds like a lot of money. It's really not,
Uh-huh.
because then out of 3 books, that's 33,000 per book,
Uh-huh.
and then each book is split out into draws.
Okay.
So that means you might get $10,000 when you first get the deal, $10,000 when you submit the book for editing, and then $10,000 when the book drops. That could take 3 years to get that first 30,000. Just depends
Mm,
on the cycle. So it
wow.
doesn't really sound like that much going forward. But then if you keep selling well and doing well, then you'll get another book deal and another book deal, and then you got 20, 30 books out. Now it makes sense, and it's much more effective.
Gotcha.
Then the other type of publishing is independent publishing, which is more like small presses. So they still cover all the expenses of publishing. They may or may not pay you in advance, but then they'll pay you royalties. And you only get paid your royalties once they recoup whatever money they spent to publish your book. And
Okay.
so some authors never get beyond the recoup experience, get past that because they never sell enough books.
Mm,
And part of that is because regardless of which option you choose, if you're not out there promoting your book, getting the word out, connecting with readers, doing interviews, media releases, out in the public speaking engagements, people don't know you, they don't know who you are, they don't know
right.
your book is out there, they won't know to support you.
Mm,
And Amazon has, 30 something million books out there. People say, well, I put my book on Amazon and I didn't sell a book. Well, it's 30 million books. How do they know you're there?
uh-huh.
Does Amazon even know you're there? So there's traditional, there's independent. Then the next one is book producers. Book producers are companies that authors pay to publish their books. And here's where the water gets real muddy. Because it doesn't require any type of screening or approval from most of these companies, because
Okay.
your screening is being able to pay the fee.
Okay.
And what I found in this category, you have the reliable, the trustworthy, the people who are doing it right, which is where I fall in. Then you have those companies who are just all solely about the money. They are overcharging the author. They are producing inferior quality products. They're not teaching the author anything. They're not
Hmm.
positioning the author to succeed. And then they're putting out junk. I've had authors who dealt with these type of publishers come to me because their books were horrible. I
Wow.
paid I paid X thousands of dollars for editing, and it's not edited. I
Wow.
paid for a marketing package and they didn't market it. Well, they may have marketed, but if it's not your audience, it's not going to matter.
Yeah.
So that's where you have to be very careful. When you pay someone to publish, you want to make sure they're reliable. I say always ask for recommendations and resources. When I work with my clients through Queen Bee Publishing, we have discovery calls. We are checking on each other. I'm empowering my authors to understand what I'm doing and why I'm doing it, so that if they decide to publish another book, they've got good understanding about what's going on. If they are ready to sell their books, I've already provided them with hours of training, recorded training, and then in-person live Q&As to help them through the process. We talk about the cover design, the importance of the title, the importance of their name, the back cover, marketing copy, media releases. They get all of that in my packages, because for me, it's not just about publishing a book and then giving it over to them. For
Right.
me, the important thing is make sure that when they publish a book, it's been professionally engineered, there's that word again, and designed to land them paid speaking engagements, media attention, and book sales. And you
Right.
can't do that with inferior quality book.
Mm.
So it's important to make sure that before they get out into the world with their message, that
Yeah.
that the message is clean.
Wow.
And so and then the final form of publishing is self-publishing, which is basically doing it yourself. Now, that doesn't mean you do your own cover, you do your own editing, although I get authors to do that. Absolutely terrible. Don't, if you're not a graphics designer, don't do it. And even if you are a professional editor, you can't edit your own work. Your brain won't let you do it. You'll see something that should be there because you know it's there. Your brain will tell you it's there, and it's not there.
Wow.
Or there's a study that's been done, I think, by Cambridge University. If the first and the last letter in the word are in the right place, and all the other letters in the word are the correct letters but are jumbled up, your brain can read that jumbled up word and figure out what it reads.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah. So you can't edit your own work. You have to hire professionals. So with self-publishing, you're like the general contractor in building a home. You hire your own editors, and I say plural because there's different levels of editors. You need to hire all levels. You hire your graphic designer. Maybe you hire someone to lay out the interior of the manuscript. You might have to hire someone to do some social media marketing for you if that's not your skill set, or you just don't have the time to do it. So it's like hiring people, and you hire these people off of referrals, off of recommendations, that are qualified and do quality work.
Right.
So it's a process. So all four of those are your different options, and depending upon which way you want to go or which way you can go. Some people try to land traditional publishing deals or even with independent presses, and they can't get picked up because their manuscripts, either they're reaching out to the wrong person,
right,
the wrong type of publishing company, or their book's not good enough. And it's sorry to say that happens a lot. So what people do is they go to publish it themselves, but they didn't do the work to make sure that it was better. Wow. They just put out the same book that was rejected. They put that book out, and then they get crickets in the world. Nobody, my family read the book and nobody's saying anything. Is that a good thing? Nah. They don't want to hurt your feelings, so they get quiet.
Wow.
We don't want that. You want to say, oh my God, this is great. It changed my life. Oh, I can't wait. I'm telling everybody I will buy 20 of them for my friends and family. That's when you know you got something on you.
Okay. Wow. So traditional, independent book producer, and then self-publishing.
Yes.
So, awesome. And so people can go to your website at penofthewriter.com for these resources, these tools, because you have a series of do it right the first time. Okay, right, there you go. There you go. Do it right the first time. And, if you do it right the first time, you don't have to repeat it. You don't have to waste money or anything like that. And then allowing, as you said, Queen Bee Publishing to step in and just walk with you through it. And I did go to the website, you have various packages based on what they need and where they're at.
Right.
But get a reputable person to help you. And so you're looking at one right now. And so I can vouch for this person. She's been in the game for a long time, and so I love how you were able to break that down. I didn't see it like that. And I love how you were able to break it down. And sometimes people can look at the sticker of that support and get a little shocked, okay? But when you think about having someone by your side, it's your best friend by your side and walking with you every step of the way, it makes it worth it. It makes the investment worth it. Yeah.
It does. It does, because now you're not making the mistakes that most people make. There are some common mistakes that a lot of authors make, and some are catastrophic, where they just quit. I can't do this. I've lost too much money. This is too hurtful. I don't want to go further. So I help them avoid those common mistakes. I help them navigate the terrain of things that maybe they're not familiar with. Like cover design is critical in publishing a book. But if you don't know the psychology of colors, if you don't know what makes for a good title and subtitle, even how you use your name, like I help my clients come up with their professional name. So we'll Google their name. And if there's 50 million people with your exact same name, we need to modify your name, either by including your middle name, a middle initial, a maiden name. That's why I'm Valerie J. Lewis Coleman. Not because I'm hyphenated, not because I'm this feminist. No, because I want my friends to know me before I was married, and the friends who knew me since I've been married. Wow. So Valerie J. Lewis Coleman, and that makes me the only one. Wow. If I just go with Valerie Coleman, there is a master flautist, bless her heart, who takes the first 10 pages of Google. Nobody's going to go to page 11 looking for me. I wouldn't go to page 11 looking for me. So Valerie J. Lewis Coleman, that helps me to differentiate from other people in the market. So things like that, I help my clients through so that they can be in a position to succeed.
Yeah. Wow. Never thought about it like that. Never thought about it like that. That's awesome, Val. That's awesome. Now, as we talk about doing it right the first time, we've talked a lot about just the publishing world and what you do, what you offer people. Is there anything we have not talked about as it relates to the publishing world before we shift gears into some things that you're doing for children? Is there anything on the other front that you would like to share with our audience?
I will say, Marcia, that the toughest thing for most authors, they feel when they're in the writing phase, oh my gosh, this is a lot of work. I can't do this. And then once they get past the writing and they're getting into the publishing, oh, I never knew this is a lot. Then the real challenge, though, is marketing. And another statistic, I love the numbers. 10% of what you do when it comes to the book business is attributed to writing. Your aspect of writing. Only 10% of your time, resources, energy, effort attached to writing. When you're in the middle of it, it seems like 100%, but it's only 10%. 30% is publishing. The cost, the cover design, editing, printing, and all the work you have to do with publishing. That 60% that remains is marketing. That's the most difficult part of this business, and really any business, if you think about it, is marketing. Who's my audience? How do I reach my audience? How do I connect with my audience? How do I engage my audience? Where is my audience? And then being consistent and relevant and top of mind so that when they think of whatever this problem that your book solves or this entertainment that your book provides for them, you become the first person they think about, or the first person other people think about and tell them.
Gotcha.
That takes a lot of work, and that takes a lot of time and energy and effort to being consistent. And social media is great, but social media is only going to take you so far. You can't rely on social media. It's more for awareness really than revenue generating. So you can't just rely on social media. There are other things that you're going to have to do to be relevant with your people. So I would say in this arena, to answer your question, be prepared to do the work.
Wow.
You can't put your book up on Amazon and say, phew, I'm done. Glory to his name. Hallelujah. No, you're not done, boo-boo. Just getting started.
Just getting started.
Just getting started. So be prepared to do the work, the consistent, ongoing work when it comes to marketing your books.
I love that. And you have helped connect over 700 authors to avid readers.
Yes, ma'am.
700.
Yes, that's a lot, right?
It's a lot. That's a lot.
I've been doing citywide book fairs. I'm in Dayton, Ohio, and I've been doing citywide book fairs since 2005. I did my first writers conference in 2004. Then I added a open to the public thing the night before to get exposure for the authors and aspiring authors and my guest speakers and stuff. So I've been doing that since 2005 and just building on that momentum. And in that, I've connected those 700 authors to people of Dayton and people coming from beyond Dayton, but that's my home base is Dayton, Ohio. And it's been amazing just to help these authors because again, most of them are introverts. I didn't say that before, but right brain dominance is introversion. That's the same side of the brain. So most authors are introverts and they don't want to I have to talk to people. Just read my book. Just read the back.
Uh-huh.
I used to work with an author. Read the back cover. I said, no. They want to hear you tell the story. They're standing right here and ask you what's your book about. Here, read it. No, that's not what you're supposed to do. So connecting with the people is the biggest thing. And so I wanted to help authors, do that. So I started hosting citywide book events. And up until the pandemic, I did the Day Book Expo. And then the pandemic hit and it was time to make a shift. And so now I'm shifting to one that's specifically for children.
Awesome, awesome. And when you are doing something, having a conference, they can find you and find your event at penofthewriter.com.
Yes, ma'am. Everything's at penofthewriter.com.
Yes, penofthewriter.com. Now let's talk about, like you said, you did a shift, and let's talk about children books you've published. And not only you publish yourself, but you also, through Queen Bee Publishing, you helped others who have published children books. And these children books, you coined it BIPOC, Black Indigenous People of Color, because about in the market back of 2018 on bookshelves, there was only about 23% of our young girls or boys only seeing themselves on the shelves. And so instead of just talking about it, you did something about it.
I did.
And yes, you did. And you came out with, all the things I can be when I see me. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right there. Right there.
And I got it in Spanish too. Don't ask me how to say it. Olo something. And then I'm done.
Okay. Wow.
But yeah. So these are my granddaughters, Samara and Lyric. They're actually here visiting right now. They're from out of town. So they're visiting. Yeah. And so I did this book with them because I don't have them, but maybe a couple of weeks out of the year. And we always talk about, for me, every opportunity with a child is an opportunity to teach or learn or share. And so I would say, well, what do you want to be when you grow up? And they would always have something they wanted to do or be, creative. And some things were like, at one point, Lyric, who at this point was about 3 years old, Lyric said, Mimi, I want to be an archaeologist. Girl, bye. That is a 5-syllable word for a 3-year-old girl. What do you know about archaeology? Mimi, they find dinosaur bones. Well, okay, they do. I don't think that's an aspiration anymore, but I included it in the book. And there's about 22, 23 different careers of things that my grandbaby said they wanted to be. And what I did was give them examples of women who have done what they said they wanted to do and who look like them. Whether they're modern day trailblazers or historical figures, they can put a face to a woman of color who has done something that I want to do. So can I be a judge? You can be a judge. Can I be a professional gymnast? You absolutely can. Can I be an Olympic medalist? Yes, you can. I have a friend who was an Olympic medalist. So I reached out to her and I said, Bonnie, my grandbabies want to be Olympic medalists. What information would you like to share with them? She said, would you please tell them that being a champion means you have to work hard and have fun.
Wow.
Work hard and have fun. So, and then there was also a Nance Holt, who is the chief, I'm probably going to say it all wrong, fire department with Chicago, responsible for millions of lives. She's the chief deputy officer or something, top ranking fire chief of all of Chicago's fire department. And so I reached out to her and talked to her and interviewed her and put some of her words in the book as well, because I wanted little girls to see you can be whatever you want to be.
Yes.
This is not a gender thing. You want to be a police officer? You can be a police officer. You want to be a firefighter? You can be a firefighter. You want to be a doctor? You can be a doctor. I even mentioned, oh my gosh, Dr. Mae Jemison. I sponsored her in Dayton when I used to mentor some young students. I sponsored her to come into Dayton, and she was a keynote speaker for one of my conferences. So I mentioned Dr. Mae Jemison. I told my babies, well, I met her. What? Yeah, you Mimi knows the people. And it gives them hope. It gives them inspiration. It gives them confidence to see that my skin color is not going to stop me. It doesn't matter what the society says, what the media says, what other people might say. I can be and do whatever I choose to be and do, as long as I keep my mind focused and intentional on what I want to be when I grow up. And so that's what I did with this book. It's been a bestseller. It's won numerous awards. And because of this now, I started publishing more books for children's books for authors. I published maybe 5 or 6 authors now of children's books. Out of 186 authors, I think 6 of them have been children's book authors.
Wow.
And one of them just got her book last week. She said, I had no idea people were going to respond this way. I said, I did. I knew it was a great book. And by the time I helped her lay that bad boy out, I said, oh, you better get ready. And she said, they've been blowing me up. Yes, I'm excited for you. It's a process. Yeah.
That is awesome. So I didn't know Samaria and Lyric was your actual grandchildren, and you are actually Mimi.
I'm actually Mimi, and these are my sons dropping off my babies. These are my sons. And I kept telling my designer, you make sure that my sons have on wedding rings. I don't play with that stuff.
Okay, where's that? Make sure they have on wedding rings.
So she would draw them and she would forget. I had that in the detail in the illustration list. And sometimes I said, where's the ring? I need to see the ring. It don't have to have diamonds in it, but I need to see that gold around his middle finger. I need to see that.
Okay, so that they don't come after him, okay?
Right. That, and it's important for those little subtle things are things that our babies need to see and understand are real. Yes, Black fathers are in the home.
Yes.
Yes, Black fathers are married. Yes, Black fathers love on their children. And so those are little subtle cues that were so important to me that I was, when I tell you I was Eagle Hawkeye on I don't see, where the ring.
That is awesome. I love it because you allowed their imagination to just go wild.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, and they are going, I mean, because of this book, their focus on what they can be is so vast. Nobody can tell them any different.
Absolutely.
Nobody. And if they did try, now Mimi said, I can be anything I want to be.
Okay. And they're both now want to be writers. So Lyric has written a couple books. Nothing's been published yet because they won't finish them.
Okay.
She started out with a couple picture books and now Lyric is 9. And I said, well, Lyric, what's going on with your last picture book? Well, Mimi, I'm into chapter books now. I don't really. Okay. And then Samara started on a novel. And so, but they're in school. Well, they're not in school for the summer, but they're in school. And so it's hard for them to stay focused on finishing writing. So hopefully while I have them here during this stay, we can work on a book and then I can finish it up.
Yes.
Because I really want them to be published. They enjoyed that. They enjoy autographing. They enjoy going to the book signings. I had a book event in Atlanta and Lyric was 3 years old. And she said, she's autographing. We're outside autographing. She said, Mimi, I'm an author. Yes, you are, baby. And I'm autographing books. Yes, you are, baby. And I got all that on camera with my Mimi. I said, yes.
Oh, that is awesome. That is awesome. Absolutely. I love it. So this book was Samaria and Lyric. Mm-hmm. Now, I know do you have grandsons?
I do. I have a grandson. He's in the other room too. Sean, I mentioned him briefly in the book. But when I asked Sean what he wanted to be, again, he was about 3 years old. He just said, we call him Little Sean. My son is also Sean. Okay. But my son is Lil Sean. Okay. So he's Little Sean, my grandson. And then they call my son Big Sean. So when I said, Sean, what do you want to be when you grow up? I want to be Big Sean. Okay. I wasn't mad about that because that means he loves his daddy and adores his daddy. But that was not the answer I was hoping for.
Right.
But I do have another children's book I'm working to finish next year. It's a goal. Okay. And it's about a little boy and it teaches hard work, discipline, focus, commitment.
Good.
And it's about a father and a son relationship. They'll be the two main characters. And so it's really problem solving. So this little boy uses his creativity to solve a problem that his father has given to him. And his father's like, wait a minute, how'd you do that? So the bulk of the book is a little boy telling his dad how he did it. And it's so cute the way it unfolds. Okay. That came as a result of a speaking engagement. I was asked to be a keynote speaker for a summer program for a theater program for our community college. And so I was a keynote speaker. And I was like, what am I going to say to these high school kids that's going to interest them? And so I put this story together. I'm like, oh, this is cute. I wrote that story. They're like, oh, that's great. That's hilarious. We love it. I said, I got a book. So I'm going to finish that up. And I'm considering having that character be my grandson, Sean.
Okay. Okay,
Yes.
that's awesome. I know when I
Yeah.
was reading, I said, okay, well, where's the little boy?
Yeah.
Because I have grandsons, right? So
Yeah. Right.
like, where's the
Right.
little boy? So I love
Yeah. So
that. I
he'll be
love
on my
it.
next one.
Awesome. I love it. That's beautiful, Val. That's beautiful.
Thank
Now,
you.
you have a huge book fair event that's tied behind all the things I can be when I see me that's happening
Mhm.
real soon. And
Mhm.
so many people believed in what you were doing that they received that you received substantial donations
Mhm.
towards every young girl leaving that book fair with a free book.
Yep.
Wow. Free of charge.
Yep.
That represents who they are. That is absolutely amazing, Val. I
Thank you.
know, yes, I know that as people go to the website to learn about these events that you do, the seminars that you do, the book fairs that you do, the Queen Bee publishing that you do, along with all of the books to help it's just going to be amazing. It's going to be an amazing event, as well as a truly a blessing for young girls, as well as their entire family, so that their young girls, their daughters, their granddaughters can see themselves in
Mhm.
in a book
Absolutely.
and know that I can do it.
Yes. And this
Yeah.
is actually open to boys and girls because I've brought in other authors with books that
Okay.
feature little brown boys. It was important for me to bring in black and brown authors with books that
Okay.
feature black and brown characters so that our babies can see themselves and understand that they can be the hero in their own story, that
Got you.
there is good in who I am,
Yes.
regardless of my color, and not just regardless, but because of my color.
Yes.
I can do
Yes.
all things, and to
Yes.
encourage them. Because so that's the when I see me based off of the tail end of the book. Oh, the things I can be when I see me. So it's the
Right.
when I see me BIPOC Children's Book Fair, and
Wow.
like you said, I got so much support, thousands of dollars donated, so that every child leaves with a book of their choice.
That's
Wright
awesome.
State University is donating drawstring backpacks. I've got Strategic Ohio Council of Higher Education donated writing journals. I've got all kind of things that people have donated to give to the kids so that they can leave with a treasure trove of little reminders of how wonderful that day was, what they learned, the book they got to choose, and talk to the author, have their name written into the book. All those things seem like little things, but they can make
Yeah.
all the difference in the world to a child who's never seen a book with a character that looked like them.
Right.
I
Right.
didn't I didn't see a chocolate person on a book when I was a child.
No.
Not
No.
not at all. The first
No,
book
we did not.
no, we didn't have them. The first
Uh-uh.
book I saw that had a person of color on the front was Mexicali soup, and it was a Hispanic family,
Uh-huh.
and the matriarch was making soup, and everybody told her what they didn't want in it. So by the
Uh-huh.
time she served dinner, it was hot water, and they're like, "Well,
Uh,
what? Well, you said you didn't want that, and she didn't want that, and she didn't want this, and she didn't want that. So now you got hot water.
so now
There's
you
your
got some
Mexicali
hot
soup." It was a great book, but that was the
water.
first book. I think I was like 9 years old, 9 or 10,
Really?
before I saw a book that had a person of color on it. Not my color, but color.
Isn't that something?
Yeah.
Wow.
And
Wow.
so I want to shift that.
Yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
Shift the atmosphere. Shift it.
Absolutely.
Not
And in
not
our in our community, my specific community in Dayton, the three lowest ranking schools in the whole state of Ohio are right here in my community.
wow.
And the commonality is that they are predominantly black and brown children.
Really.
So I'm having my event in the heart of the city. Wright State wanted to donate their space, but it's too
Uh-huh.
far away.
Uh-huh.
So I'm having it right where the kids can have access to the resources and just learn. Dolly Parton
It's-
Imagination Library is going to be there to support and let babies get books after the book fair. I'm overwhelmed with the response from the
That's
community.
awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And somebody that don't reside in Dayton, but
Mhm.
reside in Oklahoma or Philadelphia,
Mhm.
they could do the same thing and look at
Absolutely.
creating this. Let's not sit back and just talk about it, but let's be about it. Let's be a part of the solution. And all it takes is finding these authors and bringing them together so that our children, our young boys and our young girls, our teen boys and our teen girls can see a representation of them versus the representation that society and the world want us to see, you know.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
yeah.
Frederick Douglass has a quote. I'm probably going to misquote it, but it's easier to raise strong children than broken men, to repair broken men.
Mm.
So the
Wow.
younger we get them, you know, there's the whole preschool to prison pipeline. There are things in place that are positioned, systematic things in place, positioned to weed out our babies
Yeah.
specifically.
Yeah.
You know, now my sons, they far exceeded national averages. I read something that says 7 out of 10 Black men who start college never finish.
Mm.
I have 2 Black sons who finished and got master's degrees.
Wow.
So we're serious about education, you know, in our family. And so I'm pushing that same agenda on my children. Now, if they choose not to go to college, that's okay. Oh, but you got to go to work.
Yeah. Yeah.
You got to earn some type of skill. If you open a business, you have to do something that's going to be productive. Because
Yeah.
right now, you're not living off of me, not doing that.
Okay. That ain't happening.
No, yeah. And so it's important though to start young, teach them early. It's not kindergarten, not the kindergarten is too late, but there's some fundamental things that a child should already know by the time they get to kindergarten.
Exactly. Yeah.
You know,
Absolutely.
it's good to know their alphabets and spell their names and say their ABCs and count to
Yeah.
10. You know, my oldest son was for his 1 year birthday, he could say his ABCs and count to 10, spell his name, and everybody's like, what is happening here? But I started in the womb. I counted to him when I was carrying him.
Exactly. Wow.
It's never too early to start.
Never too early to start. Well,
No.
that is awesome, Valerie. I'm telling you, this has been time well spent. Just sharing all of the wealth of knowledge you have within you. And here's the thing to our audience, it doesn't stop here because all of this is sitting on her website. All of this you can hire up and receive this one-on-one and group setting and seminar setting with Valerie. And Valerie, I just thank you so much for carving out time in your day just to share so eloquently and so passionately everything you've shared today to help someone that is listening on today.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. And so we have been speaking with best-selling author and award winner, winning publisher with over 15 years of experience. She's just shared and dumped a whole bunch of stuff on us, okay? Gave us some things to think about. If you had that book and you're like, I'm gonna write this book. Now you got some stuff to think about, okay?
Absolutely.
For real, including myself, right? Uh, and so she has been, 15 years of experience, and she goes by the name, just in case you missed it, Valerie J. Lewis Coleman. And I mean, she's just amazing. And there is just a wealth of knowledge within her. And as we talked about, you can go to her website. There is big events, conferences that she has, that she puts on throughout the year to help people like me and people like you. And now she's shifted. She pivoted over to pour into our young Black girls, our young Black boys, to help them understand Black, Indigenous children of color. And so it's so important. And so that series is When I See Me, BIPOC, Children Book Fair. If you go to Valerie's website for more information about Valerie and her books, her upcoming seminars, publishing your book under Queen V, or Queen V rather, and to know more about her children's series, Oh, the Things I Can Be When I See Me, and the book fair When I See Me, PIBPOC. please go to her website at penofthewriter.com. That's penofthewriter.com. And if you forget that, think about this, thingsicanbe.com. That's thingsicanbe.com. Go there for more information. Valerie, thank you for your time today.
Thank you so much, Marsha. I enjoyed myself with you.
Outstanding.
If you enjoyed this conversation, you can listen to it again, along with the selection of set-apart music and Torah readings on our radio station, All Praises Radio, at allpraisesradio.com. It's a radio station that plays set-apart music all day long. That's All Praises Radio at allpraisesradio.com. Be sure to subscribe to our channel to be notified when new interviews are released. And guess what? On our website at YahudahLiving.com, we have a growing directory of artists and other resources within Yasharel. It's community-driven, which means you can add resources to this directory for others. And a heartfelt thank you to you, our Yahudah family, for your support and enthusiasm. If you liked this episode, please don't forget to like, subscribe, and share it with a friend. Your support helps us bring more uplifting content to our community. And last, but certainly not least, all praise to the Most High Yahuwah Sabaoth, perpetually. Shalom.